think everyone is aware this is going to be yet again another challenging year for mental health, substance abuse, and developmental disabilities. And our mission is real simple. It's to make sure that consumers in Mecklenburg County get the services that they need. And I would encourage all of you to keep your eye on that mission and to look for that bounce in your organization and agencies so that you come out through this crisis stronger as an organization, and making sure that we all partner together to make sure consumers in Mecklenburg County get the services that they need.
Current reality is that there will likely have to be some more reductions made next year in services to meet the needs that we have in this community. Where those reductions will have to come from, we don't know at this particular time, but we do know that the revenue growth that we have experienced in the past is not going to be at the same level that we have had in the past if we have any revenue growth at all. The budget that was approved last year was approved unanimously by the Board of County Commissioners. There are not many managers around the country who can say, I was able to get a unanimous vote on a budget. But the point that I remember from this past budget was that when we had the public hearing, it was probably the least contentious public hearing that we've ever had. We actually had people, and some of them were area mental health providers, who came and said, we're here to say that we support the manager's recommendation, just don't cut us any further. There were people who came and said, we're willing to accept our 8 or our 10% or 12% reduction, but please don't cut us any further. And I think that happened because we were open and we were transparent, and we tried to get out and to explain to people our current reality and what our real circumstances were. That's what I want to bring to the process this year, that there's going to be openness about where we are, so as we learn more about what our revenue picture is going to be, that you will have a full understanding about what circumstances that we are confronted with.
I'm here today to talk specifically to this group too about employment. And while the services are absolutely critical to that process, working collaboratively together in how we serve our consumers, and most importantly, how do we create workable plans that can get them back into the community in employment. And I know right now we're thinking, well, you know, all the layoffs and the reduction in workforces and so forth, there are still opportunities, and I really, really commend the group here for having an organization like this where you guys can come together and, just as you said, start to collaborate on how we can provide those services, do that collaboratively, and share information on how we get folks to work in this community, your consumers. So we'll talk more about that later, but thank you.
We're talking about building about 1,700 new beds in a jail. We know that a number of those people who are in our jail system have mental health and substance abuse problems. And the question becomes one of, how do we balance, again, competing demands and expectations to not only meet the public safety needs of the community, but also to meet the broad array of mental health issues in the community.
How much of that money going to build jails can be converted back over to what we do in the high-risk intervention area?
You have a very strong passion for the services that you provide, and you should. The advocates for jail construction possess the same passion. The advocates for education possess the same passion. The advocates for library services possess the same passion. And so the point that I'm making is that, you remember I used the term competing demands and expectations on limited resources. The challenge that we will all have is really succinctly defining and then having the will to fund the top priorities, not necessarily the top niceties, but the top priorities. And when you get into a room and you start trying to decide on what the top priorities are, then you will see how difficult it is to achieve that. Just conclude with this comment to you. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's men and all the king's horses could never put Humpty together again. Just think about that as you think about your future. Think about whether or not you think Humpty Dumpty should be put back together as he existed prior to his fall, or if a new Humpty Dumpty needs to be built. That's the question and challenge that I will leave you with. Thank you. That a new Humpty Dumpty as 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 as